Hey y'all. Okay, so hi, Kobe R. Rice. I know it's been a while. I forget to introduce myself pretty much like every video, and some people might be watching this for the first time. So, Kobe, hi for new viewers, and hi everybody to my old viewers. You are all loved and welcome. This is just a really brief update of what I've been up to since the 20th, which is the last day that I actually created an update. And actually, nothing really has been going on that is particularly significant except that graduate school is like literally crunching in on both my sanity and my time, just slowly and surely, day by day. So we're down to like the last 5 weeks of the semester, and as crunch time continues to crunch, you guys will see a lot less of me, unfortunately. So that's one thing. The other thing is that pretty much what I've been working on has included, again, the next novels in the Books of Ezekiel series. I've been doing a lot of world building and plotting for not just, not really Hollow Point, because that's pretty much done, but for the Iron Maiden, Blood and Ink, I'm actually going to work on an entire season arc of like a season arc plot timeline and a subplot timeline, so I can just get like a bird's eye view of what the relationships are, what's happening generally with people on a macro and micro level across the next 6 books, so that like I don't get lost, because you can easily get lost when you're writing like an epic urban fantasy of like 400 to 500 pages per book with like a multitude of characters from a multitude of viewpoints. So I'm just trying to keep everything together. But I'm excited with the direction of the series and the progress on the series, and that's been going really great. Sorry if it's a little loud. I have the windows open. It's a beautiful day today in Arizona, so I just need to let like the fresh air in. So yes, that's been going on. That's still happening. I am officially going to dive into. I've been writing and plot building and world building, but as of next Monday is going to be like the deep dive into literally churning out anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 words a day. Hopefully, we'll see. Again, graduate school is slowly crushing my existence. But I deliberately took the first 3 months, not just to write, but mostly to just build out the plots and plot out the viewpoints, so that when it's time to write, I can just literally sit down and write each scene, you know? So I've been, so now I'm going to do a lot less focus on plotting and more focus on like just finishing up the draft. Like I said, it's already over 100,000 words. Hopefully, the finished final draft will be anywhere between 150 to 200,000. I'm trying not to make it so long, but I have to let the stories play out as they want to play out. It's not really me dictating the story, it's the characters. And as schizophrenic as that sounds, if you're a writer or you're a creator, you know for sure that that is true. What else? I've also jumped into plotting and world building for well, not jumped in, but continued plotting and world building for the Hitmen of Happily Ever After series, specifically the Rose and John Doe's book, which I'm super excited to get into, but I'm just trying to figure out like which direction my main character's plot needs to go. It's going to be first person, kind of like sexy, action-packed noir, but also a really great world that is being built in New York City, dealing with essentially like a remix and retelling of super popular fairy tales. So I'm still working on all of that. And so for that series, I'm basically brainstorming this month, or yeah, in April, hitting the outline in May, churning out the rough draft in June, and hopefully we'll edit in July and then publish that one in August. Whereas the Hollow Point book for the Books of Ezekiel series, right now, this month is the writing. This month and like the next, sort of like the next month and a half is going to be about just writing, and then editing in June and getting reviews, and then releasing that one early July. So I got a lot of stuff going on with those 2 books, and so that's the plan. And then from there, hopefully, I'll be able to keep up my production because I'll be in summertime, so I have plenty of time to work on all this stuff pretty much all day, every day, which is so exciting. And then on top of that, I've also been working on the Sandman film. As you guys know, I'm still trying to not just finish the script, but also I'm planning the shoots. I'm planning like the look of the shoot, the sort of themes that I want to be brought out in the movie. I'm putting Easter eggs in the movie. Just planning shots and just trying to like create not just a movie brand, but my own brand as a director. And this is really important to me because it's a super low budget movie. It's not going to be anything like major mass theatrical release, but I will be doing the festival circuit tour after the movie is like completely finished, and then we'll try to release it on distributors and retailers like Amazon Prime and sort of other places where you can like buy indie movies. I think that's sort of like the general plan for Sandman right now, but we'll see what happens. And the storyline for it is actually coming along really well. Like, I don't want to call it a theme because I'm not trying to insert a hardcore theme, but sort of the underlying structure and logic and philosophy of the horror film is pretty tight. I'm just trying to find ways to integrate that philosophy and perspective, both a personal, sociological, and psychological perspective. I'm trying to integrate all those things with an actual, like, action packed, like, chair gripping, chilling horror story. Because even though I feel like horror movies are making a critique on society, they still should be horrifying and thrilling, and you need to give the audience what they're showing up for. So that's going pretty well. I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited about the directions that the film is going to go and everything like that. So that's pretty much what I've been working on. Mostly for this past week, I've been focusing mostly on graduate school. I have a stack of papers here to grade. Not even papers, they're actually like exams, but 150 like short essay exams with like 4 questions each. Yeah, it's gonna be tons of fun this weekend, and just getting life together in general. So that's basically that. I'm sorry there's nothing major to report back on, and since I've been gone for almost 11 days, and yes, this is the final point that I actually want to make too. So we've come to the end of the first quarter of 2017, which is insane. For me, it just zoomed by, like zoomed. And in terms of like not only my creative production, but marketing and stuff like that, I will be working on basically over the weekend of an entire resume or summary of everything that I've accomplished and everything that I've been doing from January 1st all the way up until the end of March, because I like to do like quarterly analyses of my progress, sort of like a company does. I try my best to treat my projects and myself as like a corporate entity, and just take stock and inventory of what has been done, what's been successful, what has been unsuccessful, and how I can improve on those places that I need to improve upon. So I'll be doing that and posting that to my blog, and hopefully you guys will tune in. It will not be, well, you know what I'll do, I wasn't going to make it a video update, but I actually might, because those are easier and quicker to post. But what I'm going to do is create an entire long bulleted list of the things that I have accomplished, the classes that I finished, both in graduate school and out of graduate school, the creative achievements, the new developments, just a whole long list. And then what I'll do is I'll create a video update, picking out those specific and particular accomplishments that I want to expand upon. And that's what I'll do, because I love blogging, I love vlogging, and I do love writing, but for whatever reason, writing my blogs takes a lot out of me, and I just want to save that energy for my novels, as opposed to having to like put that energy into writing a blog post. So I feel like I can bring a similar level of value and like deep epic content, but just without having to write it. And I might actually end up at some point, when things start rolling a little bit more successfully, getting a transcriber, so that for people who really do like to just sit and read through blog posts like that and that are content heavy, you guys will have that opportunity. Whereas for those of you who are more visually stimulated and orally stimulated, you guys will have that content available. So I'm thinking about just doing that pretty much for all of my blogs, including the Bohemian Badass. I love, again, writing for the Bohemian Badass. I really enjoy doing that work, but it's so much easier to just podcast and vlog for the Bohemian Badass, as well as for my other blogs. So yeah, that's a transition and a change I'm thinking about making for the second quarter, is just switch completely to like a vlogging podcast, format, as opposed to like a written format, unless there's something really important like a spreadsheet or a worksheet or a workbook that I want you guys to have. Then I'll put that together. But that's actually not as intense as like writing out like a 5,000 word blog post, because the way we put workbooks together is like sort of different. Another thing, I will be turning this vlog series into a podcast. I feel as though there aren't really many, I mean, there are some, but there aren't really many podcasts out there that literally chronicle the creative journeys of Black speculative fiction writers and creators. There are a lot of podcasts out there that are catering to the communities of color who create, and particularly to Black communities of color, to Black communities who create, which are great. And so places like Graveyard Shift Sisters, that's a great blog, and great place to go for like getting your information on like Black horror and Black women in horror. Black Girl Magic obviously is a great place to tune in. Black Girl Nerd is a great place to tune in. Women in Comics is a great place to tune in. So there are those places. But I want this podcast that I'm going to put together, this whole vlog series, I want this to be literally just chronicling my journey. And it's somewhere in the subtitle is going to be talking about, it's going to be called like the journey of a Black sci-fi and fantasy filmmaker and writer, period. Some with female somewhere in that title, because I feel like I want to do that, and that the world needs that. And at some point, hopefully in the future, in this year, I'm hoping we'll be able to get more women of color who are creators onto the podcast or the vlog or Skype sessions or what have you, and just like get exposure and be able to provide inspiration and education to those creators of color who don't really have many role models, or who know that there are role models out there but who can't find the role models in their communities for what they want to do. So I want to be that. I want to try to provide that support and that inspiration and all of that. So I'm going to transform at some point this quarter, this vlog series into a podcast as well. So the vlog will continue, but I'll just rip the audio and turn those into podcasts. So for those of you who want to just listen to the podcast, you just have that. There's also the Fable Hunter podcast I'm trying to start up as soon as possible. And that's going to be based on like pretty much all the research that I do for my my novels and my series, in terms of like just, I really love folklore and magic and science and tech and like the history of these things, prominent figures in the occult, and legends and urban myths. Like I love that stuff. I really do. Unsolved crimes and mysteries, infamous like murders and serial killers or what have you. Like, I know that sounds like a little weird, but I don't like the fact that it happens. But I think that looking into cases like that, both in reality and also in fiction, are very fascinating. Life is full of mysteries and magic, and I just kind of want to explore those. And also, I want to see how cultural mysteries and magic tend to converge or overlap. Like, for example, the goddesses of harvest. I would love to see an overview or a survey done of how the goddesses of harvest manifest in not just like Greek mythology, but also, Nordic mythology, also, maybe South American mythology. Not to say that South American myth and legend is a monolith. It's not. But just see how those deity prototypes and archetypes manifest in different cultures. Looking at how African, I mean, like, across the different countries and different beliefs and the different sort of ethnicities, like how African mythologies have emerged and evolved and influenced basically the way that the world tells stories. Like, I just want to sort of see where all these legends are crossing over and how they've developed and how they talk to each other. Because I'm just convinced that we are all literally telling a lot of the same stories. Not all the same stories, but a lot of the same stories, but just with our own twist on it and our own perspective. And so that's what Fable Hunter is going to be about, just sort of bringing all those things together in a show, in an exploratory show that really dives into fables, legends, urban myths, unsolved mysteries, crimes, things like that, and sort of just like picks, I don't know, just expands on missed details and, like, educates, and I don't know, just goes into it, just talks about these mysteries that we want to further explore and unravel. I have a sort of a short list. I'm just going to list out a couple that I'm really interested in that I just came across by accident. And some of these are, religion will also be involved in this. And this is not to insult religion and say that gods and angels and things aren't real. It's not really something that I prescribe to directly because I'm more spiritual. I'm not very religious. But I still feel as though, like, Christian religious texts, Islamic texts, Judaic texts, Buddhist texts, all these different religious texts and doctrines really speak to each other while also speaking to themselves and to the people that for whom they were made. So I just want to explore all of that and just, like, kind of like do my own mini doctoral level study of fables and legends and unsolved mysteries, basically. And that's what Fable Hunter is going to be about. Obviously, I don't really have much time. I just want to do so many things. Like, it's just hard. Sorry, there's a fire engine passing by. It's sometimes really hard being a creative person because your mind is always working on just, it's, being creative is about possibility, and it's about exploration, and it's about just germination and growth and just iteration. And it's just hard to sometimes focus on what you want to do. Because, I mean, I know you guys are looking at this like, okay, Colby, you have the novels that you're doing, you're doing a film, you're trying to, like, create a media empire, you're trying to do the Bohemian Badass and create courses and blogs and a podcast for, like, people who want to get into the craft. And now you want to do, like, another podcast on your personal journey and another podcast on fable hunting. And then, like, not to mention the secret, pen name that's going to be a romantic author / erotic author pen name, and that brand that I'm working on in the dark, and she will also have not just a blog and, like, series of novels and stuff, but she will also have a podcast. A very saucy podcast, by the way. So I don't know. It's just really hard. I'm trying my best to focus as best as possible and at least get some projects off the table. But that's sort of where my mind has been. And hopefully I'll be able to do all of this with graduate school as well. But I think maybe in the second quarter, hopefully you guys can encourage me to just be more focused. I think that's what I'm going to try my best to do. Learn how to sort of put things more on the back burner than others. But that's a whole different spiel. I'm going to go because it's almost 20 minutes and I said this was going to be short. So I will see you guys soon. I'll post my quarterly wrap up and roundup in about a week because that's how long it's going to take because I've done a lot this quarter. And I will see you guys very soon. But in the meantime, keep creating, keep being badass, keep moving forward one step at a time. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.